Cut taxes on job creators to unleash a jobs boom. Some conservatives say that should be one of the GOP's first acts when it takes control of Congress next week. But some here say forget lowering our highest in the world rate, just abolish it altogether. John, abolish it?
Yeah, of course you abolish the corporate tax, and you should, because corporations are ultimately a fiction. All they are is individuals, and we already tax individuals on their income. So when we impose a corporate tax, we are double taxing the earnings of individuals. It's anti-growth, it's anti-corporate formation, and with that, it's anti-job creation.
Steve, it sounds good to me, doesn't it?
Oh, it's great in the fantasy world, but politically it's a non-starter. The idea you're going to help a business and not help individuals, John's right, it would ultimately help individuals right away. But the fact of the matter is the way to go is the flat tax. That way you can get expensing of capital expenditures right away. You get rid of this taxing of overseas profits and stuff like that, slash the rate and slash the personal rate. To think that you're going to reform the corporate tax code without reforming the personal tax code, forget about it.
But Sabrina, look at what has happened to our tax code. We have the highest tax code in the world for corporations, and we used to have one of the best. We should be the model for capitalism, not a laggard for it.
Of course, and it's not only that we have a 35% corporate tax rate, but it's also that we have tremendous abuse of loopholes. It sort of breeds this kind of crony capitalism, and it sort of throws things out of whack again. I'm with John, though, in this idea that we have to stop thinking of corporations as these anonymous sources, Burger King or Google. What it really is employees, it's shareholders, it's customers that are feeling the burden. So I think that I'm with Steve as well, that we want to try to eliminate this, but we have to make it part of a larger tax reform effort.
And Rick, this segment, after all, was your idea. You're for complete abolition of the tax code, right?
I'm kidding. I'm against you all. No, look. Here's what we have to get to is we need to have an honest conversation. Yes, we should not have the highest corporate tax rate.
We have nothing but honest conversations here.
I don't mean us. I mean the Congress, the public, etc. Here's the problem. We got to take our effective tax rate. We know some big corporations, and by the way, John, it was a Republican candidate who said corporations are people too, and we forget all the deductions corporations get. We need to figure out what are they really paying. We should not be the highest corporate tax in the world, but we have to make it fair so that a small company who's paying full boat is the same as a large company that's paying nothing.
Mike, I'm going to shock Rick. I agree with him. The actual rate of taxation for corporations is much less than that 35% because all the big guys have an army of lawyers and lobbyists to get their special deals in Washington. It just shows how this current rate distorts the tax code so much that it benefits the big guys, and the little and small guys are the ones stuck paying a full rate.
No, Rick and you are absolutely right, David. Look, the only industry that really benefits from the corporate tax are the accountants. They really benefit, the guys who have to go through and make the numbers work. But really what this tax is, and let me try to go with Rick and start this honest debate, it's a pass-through tax. It impacts the cost of the goods that the corporation provides and impacts the wages that it pays. That's really what the corporate tax impacts.
So let me go back to Rick for a second. Rick, since we agree with you on this, on what actually happens with these rates, why not just get rid of the damn thing, or at least have one very low, flat corporate tax rate that would be less than what the world has, and get rid of the deduction?
Yeah, I actually can go along with that. I think
we got a deal.
Corporations would be the place to first try the flat tax. I think it's a great idea.
Steve,
but
what about that?
You got to get rid of the deductions and the other stuff.
Could we try the flat tax with the corporate? Because both Republicans and Democrats at least say they agree that we got to lower this thing. So start with the corporate flat.
Oh, I think you can get rid of some of the loopholes and lower the corporate tax rate. But in the real world, David, unless you're going to get rid of almost every loophole, you touch one, you got to touch them all. You can't just pick and do it. So do the whole thing, and you got to combine it with the personal. Because if you go to somebody and say, I just reduced the corporate tax rate from 35 to 10 or 15%, but your taxes stay the same, not going to work.
You know, Sabrina, it used to be not too long ago, I think it was in the early 2000s, where Canada's corporate rate was higher than our corporate rate. They lowered theirs, and look what happened. Canada, for the most part, missed out on that recession that crippled this country. We're still suffering from it. They have grown much faster than most of the countries in comparable size. So we have examples of how it does help a nation when you lower that rate.
Well, absolutely. First of all, I mean, Steve put it better than I could ever try to say here on the show. But at the same time, one of the things that we want to make clear is that we want people to want to invest in American companies. And if we lower that corporate tax rate, as Canada did, it makes us a much more desirable country for other countries to invest in. So
all right,
I think
I'm going to see if I can. Rick's made a deal with some of us, but John Tandy, are you on board? Maybe turn the corporate tax rate into kind of a sample case for a flat rate across the board.
Absolutely. I say it a lot, but there are no companies and there are no jobs without investment first. And we live in this world where if I spend all my money on booze and women, the government doesn't tax me. But if I have the temerity to invest in the companies of today and the future, I face capital gains. I face corporate taxes.
And
it's completely backward, and it's anti-corporate and job creation.
Remember the great Jim Michaels, Steve? He would have had a field day with that booze and women comment.
What?
But we got to leave it at that, folks. Thank you. Last word from John. Coming up, more than 20 states